Call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I know. Approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda.
All right, you have the minutes from our May 10th council meeting, and then the minutes from last week's work session. Accounts receivable, and then tonight's payables, as you can see, a little over $91,600. Nothing really stands out in the payables. They're all standard routine. There is one payment with our EDA funds for the storefront program. A business did finish their work or whatever, so we were able to cut them their check. Anything else, Andrea, in the payables? Looking for a motion to approve if there's no questions.
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Public forum. Anybody wish to speak?
That mic on, Clinton?
Yep. It's on, right? Yeah.
Roxanne Goodrich, 112 North Main Street. I'd like to address the City Council about the vacant building registration ordinance and the vacant buildings in the B2 district. So, a couple of questions before I go through the notes that I have. You say you have 9 buildings that you define as vacant on your list. How did you come about with those 9 buildings? How did you establish those buildings? How did you put those 9 buildings on your list? How'd you come up with that?
That was a question for Marley.
Yeah, you're right, she's not here.
Did the research on that.
Clinton, do you know how that happened?
What he just said, I know
Okay.
Marley put the list together, so.
All right, and
Yeah.
are my 2 buildings on that list?
I don't.
We didn't
believe so,
obtain a
Roxanne. I don't know.
list, no.
I don't know.
You just had a workshop,
Yes.
and you talked about one of the buildings specifically on the list, but you don't know the other 8 buildings on the list?
We didn't talk about buildings.
Sure you did. You talked about the building across from mine that warehouses parts, Monty's building. You talked about that building. Yeah, I watched...
We actually gave no specification on any single building except for one that was outside of the district.
No, you talked about that building. I watched that...
The old theater.
Okay, I'm just going to go through what I say so we don't argue about this. Yes, you referenced the old theater.
Yeah, and that was just in a passing reference. We haven't
You asked-
done anything on this.
You asked if that building was on the list, and we're told yes.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So, in 2010, the Planning Commission of Waseca County gave a PowerPoint presentation about the revitalization of Janesville. In 2011, the City Council referenced this presentation and spoke about the same issues that you've been speaking about for the past year. In 2012-2013, the City Council issued a moratorium on residential building permits in the B2 district out of the same concerns mentioned in this past year by the EDA, the City Council, and Janesville Matters. Nothing came out of the moratorium, and it was never mentioned again for the whole year. 11 years of city government doing the same thing, expecting different results. The blight has gotten worse, and it's the city's fault, and not just ours, who own buildings now. The Sun Honey building is a prime example. Sarah and Kelk Schoenemann are the last owners of that building that cared at all about maintenance on that building. That was 45 years ago, and the city and the EDA have had more than one way of taking possession of that building and having the ability to do something about it. Now, I know the original intent of that ordinance reads, and you read it at the workshop, Clinton. The purpose of this section is to assist the city of Janesville in protecting the public health, safety, and welfare of its residents by encouraging the prompt repair, rehabilitation, and subsequent occupancy of vacant structures in the B12 Central Business District. Jim, you said after that, and this is quoting you, the original intent or purpose was that you wanted downtown to look prosperous at least, even if it wasn't so. You didn't want it dilapidated, you didn't want storefronts falling down, and so I think that it is genuine concern of why this came forward. If we didn't extend it beyond that, and you're talking about extending now this ordinance to other districts, which is fine, what are we actually concerned with? The reputation, the visibility of Janesville's businesses, or are we chastising people for going out of business? To Jim's point, Melissa talked about the old car wash and the old BP buildings, pointing out that they are simply still sitting vacant, even though she knew there had been multiple inquiries made about them, and they just sit. Clinton validated her point by making it his own, adding that it is a national trend that some business owners simply will not sell their property. For some reason, the city thinks that it is something that you have the right to regulate the buying and selling of commercial property. When you were talking about raising the vacant building registration fee, Mayor Arnold, you said that $100, you said, is a joke. That the registration fee was absolutely a joke. I don't think $100 is a joke. You said, make it painful enough that they'll do something. Then you started talking about $500, $600 for a registration fee, $300 a month. After that, if you don't register, you talked higher and higher amounts. And then, Jim, you said, it's time for small cities in America to take a stand and say, if you don't want a building here, if you want a building here, fine. If you don't want a building, give it to somebody else who does. That's a registration fee, not a fee to penalize somebody into selling their building. Now, I don't remember one person writing me a letter, knocking on my door, in some kind of passing conversation, asking me, why are your storefronts vacant? I have really good reasons why my 2 storefronts are vacant, but nobody bothered to ask. The way that this has been handled by this city council, by past city councils, has been incredibly punitive. I found the Janesville Matters letter horrendously punitive. There's been no personal communication in this at all. Not that I've experienced, and I've owned my building for 5 years. Did you have that business get-together on the 5th at the law office?
We had a meeting to determine a business event that has yet to happen.
It hasn't happened yet.
No, because we have to actually plan it to make it happen.
Scheduled for sometime this fall, September.
It's going to be in August.
All right.
And we will be reaching out to every business.
Okay. I'm sure you can tell that I'm very angry about this. I care about my two buildings. I care about them a lot. I care about downtown Janesville. I've lived here for 30 years, and you'd think that being part of a community would be an easy thing, but you know, there's the best and the worst about living in small towns right here. Because you have to do, I don't know what you have to do. I just don't know what you have to do. I have drained my savings to get those buildings safe and secure and so that they will last another lifetime for another generation. And I think I know what I'm going to do with them, but right now I feel like the city is so punitive that there is just no way that I would participate in putting my buildings down on a for rent or for sale, because I don't want you to know what my business is. I don't want you to know, because I don't want to do business with you. In 2017, at an EDA meeting, somebody asked, does Roxanne Goodrich know, does her business know what we have to offer? Clinton, you said, I'll take care of it, I'll get a hold of her. I didn't get a letter.
Okay, you got letters like every business on Main Street did, so we're not gonna sit here and argue tonight, okay? We're not gonna do this, okay?
It's an extremely hard job for this
You know
council
what, I don't
and this staff.
want to hear anything from you.
I'm gonna ask a call to order, Roxanne,
You
because
know
you
what?
don't get to cut off.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
Yep, because look at what you're saying, Brian. It says that
I'm gonna ask a call to order, Mayor.
You may not have anything to say, and you may not have any answers or not take any action.
I'm gonna ask another call to order.
Right.
I will like to say, though, that she makes a good point that there has been a lot not done over the years, and that was the actions taken by this council, and the EDA, and the beautification committee to make a change on the inactions of the past.
I think this is great.
Trying to do.
I think this is great. We proposed something, we had a work session, we brought out some topics, and people are bringing forth their opinions. I think this is great.
Yep.
We're having a great time. This is small-town America. This is democratic USA. The elected officials, they say something, the community comes up and says what they want to say, and then we come to an understanding later. I think this is fabulous. Anyway, Mike, don't quote me on that. I don't begrudge her coming to us. I think that's great that she does, but she needs to limit her time.
We're gonna move on then. Anybody else here to speak through public forum? One more time, public forum. Closed. Now with the communications.
A couple of you have some items on the table. There's some magazines that came in the mail for you. So I put those in front of your chairs this morning. And with our notices and communications in tonight's agenda packet is the first quarter police report for this year. Chief Allman is here if you have any questions, or Dave, if you want to share some words.
Well, basically just, this year has started off basically in trend with last year. Our numbers are still pretty consistent. A little over 500 calls for service for the first quarter. Most fortunately, we don't have a lot of things going on like other places in the state, and I'm very grateful for that. But things are just staying consistent.
Everything going smoothly with the detour and the extra traffic through town, or?
So far, we've had a few complaints, and there's been a number of citations issued for some flagrant violations.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think it's going okay.
Good.
Another month of that, and hopefully they're done with it.
Yep.
So,
Good.
Thanks for preparing these numbers, as always.
absolutely.
Council reports. Anybody have any meetings?
Yeah, I went to Park Road Plaza. They had some really great news the other day. They got 2 empties. One will maybe used pretty soon. They're going to put fans in the hallways to help distribute dissipate some of the heat on the 3rd and 4th floor. And they are going to get a short fund shortfall funding grant, needed to read it, so. $68,200 and some dollars to offset some of their losses they've been going through the last 3 years, so they are feeling pretty good. And their elevator grant is coming forward all the time. They're hoping to get that, so a lot of positive stuff.
The Whispering Creek is, their census is going back up now that they're actually having staffing come back, the summer staffing, the college kids came back, so that allows them to take more residents also, so that's helping with getting the residency up. And they're doing some creative recruitment, shall we say, to make sure that it doesn't fall off when the college kids go back to college.
Good.
Otherwise, things are going really good down there.
We haven't had EDA, we haven't this Thursday, so.
Thursday, yep.
Yep.
But nothing on the golf course.
Nope, we meet, in June 9th. Alex, the new hire, started today, my new position, so that's all I know.
Administration reports, Glenn?
All right, attached is a cash balance report for last Friday. Tonight is the first night for mosquito spray. So, and I put the schedule in your packet there for you, so it's a reminder, tonight's the first night for the season. Next week, June 2nd, I believe it is, we're gonna meet with, JWP staff, and we're gonna go over the Safe Routes to School grant that we have, for funding for next year. So we're gonna kinda go over the plans and procedures with that. And I thought maybe that may be a good time to put some bike path ideas in there to see if we can use that money for, some of that grant money for some of those. Is that okay with you, Jim? Is that a good
Oh,
start?
I think that's a great avenue for that.
Okay.
If we can combine the two, it's true. Safe route for biking, safe route for school, so.
Yep,
Great.
absolutely. And, Andy beat me to this here, but the new line worker, Alex, started today, and he plans on coming back tomorrow, so, that's good. And then the other couple items here quickly, the emergency declaration that we have been extending throughout all of last year is scheduled to expire on June 1st, which is next week. Jason Moran is here tonight. We both recommend that we let that emergency declaration expire, because so many things have been lifted now and such. I think we can somewhat get back to normal if we can.
It's time, and allowing it to naturally expire will not affect your possibility of receiving any aid.
Good.
There's another round of aid that's on its way. In fact, we should be getting the number probably sometime this week as to how much you're receiving.
Probably.
Going to receive. So doing this won't impact that.
Perfect.
So it's time.
I was not in favor to begin with, only went along with it for funding issues.
Yeah.
As mayor, I thought it gave the mayor too much power.
We just didn't know
Never
what was gonna
exercised
happen.
it, but didn't have to. Thank
We'd
goodness.
never been through anything like that before. We
Yeah.
didn't know what to do.
Yep.
You know?
It's a learning curve for all of us.
Yep.
That's all I have.
All right.
Did I get a motion?
I would move that we accept this report.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do you have anything under old business?
No, I have none.
Okay, new business. Visit from 108 West 3rd Street.
It was requested to place this individual on tonight's agenda to discuss some nuisance letter violations that he's received. Has a camper parked on the grass in his front yard. He understands that our nuisance procedure begins with a complaint, you know, from someone. I mean, that's how we do our nuisances in Janesville here. He wants to know why he was, as he said, discriminated against, and he said he was gonna be here tonight to talk to the council about the ordinance. He's not here.
I think we should still discuss it a little bit.
Sure.
With campers being as popular as they are, we have to have some place for them to park it on theirs. I mean, I get it, the front yard's probably not the best place to park it in the grass, but a corner lot like that one is, he's basically got two front yards. And the house sits on the back corner of the lot. I think we have to give them some, we need to think about changing that ordinance to give them some way of having this camper there. I mean, I get it, the reason why we don't want it parked on grass, because it grows up underneath there, and you have critter issues and all that stuff, but we gotta come up with some, if it's on a non-addressed side, or if it's on a corner lot, as long as it's not on the address side or something, I don't know how we gotta deal with it, but I think we owe it to our citizens to be able to park there. We won't allow it on the street. You have to give them some place to park their camper. The street's a definite safety issue, I think.
When I saw this, I kinda drove around town. There are at least 5 or 6 other violations in the city. And so this isn't the only instance, so I think Mike has a point. If we've got that much abuse, then perhaps the ordinance is not fulfilling the needs or the desires of the populace. So I agree with Mike, we should maybe visit this ordinance and see if there's some kind of a alteration we can make to justify people using it, maybe so far back, or, yeah, I agree with Mike. That isn't the only violation.
Might be the only one we gotta complain about, but it's not the only one we have.
Right.
And if we have, majority of the people that have campers are in violation, we probably have a problem with our ordinance. That's what my
Campers,
thought was.
four-wheelers, boats, trailers,
Ice houses.
yeah, ice fish house, there's, like I say, I just drove around and there was 6 that I noticed, and I didn't hit every street, so,
How exactly does the current ordinance read?
that's in there.
Yeah,
Basically has to be paved or gravel underneath it, if I'm not mistaken.
if you look at the top of the screen, letter
Yep.
A, vehicles that are parked or stored outside in the front, side, or rear yard must be on paved or gravel parking or a driveway, must not interfere or obstruct with the right-of-way. Vehicles, watercraft, snowmobiles, other articles stored outside must be owned by the person who resides at that property. Temporary outside storage not exceeding 30 days, appropriate commercial, industrial. So there you have on the screen there. Look at letter D. In those cases where the council deems it appropriate, acceptance may be granted for improper outside storage, unlawful parking when associated with home occupation subject. Okay, so it's a home occupation there. So basically the ordinance is, in my opinion, is pretty clear that it should not be allowed. So either the council, do we enforce this, or do we look at amending our ordinance? Jason?
Yeah, that's the option. We either amend the ordinance or we enforce what we've got. The way the ordinance is written, it is definitely a violation.
I don't disagree at all with you. I just think that we need to allow our citizens to be able to live too a little bit. I understand the blight thing, and neighbors don't want to look at it, but
I'm just leery because we have, in these meetings, talked about people's wood piles and how that couldn't be there and things like that over the year. And we have condemned that, and then a camper, we're like, well, maybe we can make an exception. But then we're getting mad about a wood pile. And it's the same concept. And so while I don't disagree with maybe some leeway, I'm leery because we have condemned others for much smaller
I'm a firm believer if we have an ordinance, we need to enforce it.
Yeah.
But I think maybe we should figure out a way of letting somebody have a camper on their property somewhere.
I like the idea in that D, where there is some sort of permittance issued by the city, but that's going to be kind of, like, I'm already going through this, it's going to be a little tricky because it's going to feel like picky-choosy if we say yes to some and no to others. If we could maybe rework item D a little bit, so that there's maybe some parameters that can temporarily allow that, I'd be for that. But I wouldn't say like a permanent.
So you're thinking D could be our measure of allowing, if they would petition the city under D, to have that stored for a certain amount of time or a certain length of,
Yeah,
or certain months of the year, that looks like the place that it would fit. If-
yeah, like if they came up to the powers that be here at the city and said, hey, here's what I have, this is where I'm gonna store it, and they got some sort of a permit and it was a temporary...
We can't change the ordinance tonight.
No, just rolling here.
Throwing ideas out here.
But this wouldn't be changing, this is simply using that ordinance, that D as an alternative to penalizing the person. They would get a special use
41.
permit to put that there.
Yeah, 'cause it feels like...
Jason, am I reading that correct?
Yeah, I think what you're talking about doing is amending the ordinance and allowing a camper with some restrictions. So I would be inclined to go in Melissa's direction that, if you are going to be allowing something, you should set some clearly defined parameters.
Yes.
This is where the camper will be allowed, either in the side yard or rear yard, that it can only be so long, that it can only be there for so long.
Yeah,
That it has to be owned by the property owner, that can't be used as a residence, can't be rented out,
yep,
can't be hooked to any city utilities, those things.
yep.
That's the point I was trying to make. I think along with this, they were living in there, correct?
I don't know what's
I believe
Okay.
at first they were.
I believe, yes. I think that was a part of one of the original nuisances.
And so that, in and of itself, is an issue separately.
That's not allowed.
It's a pretty big
Yeah.
camper, this is a 50.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's just where I get so leery. So if there was some sort of an exemption that was okayed by the staff, then maybe this could be a workable situation. But I think just hearing it, it sounds like it's an entirely different...
I don't think I want to put the onus on the staff to decide what is, I think that's
Who
a
do you-
pretty big ask for them to be the decision maker of...
Thank you.
So do you think, though, I mean, like, more like, not saying like, hey, Clinton, can I do this? And he is like, maybe, maybe not. Just notifying the city or something that this was okay, like, so that way, if it does come back around, we were notified of it, it's been cleared in some way. I don't know. Because I can see this getting out of hand really quick.
Comment is they didn't even show up tonight, I don't know whether to consider changing an ordinance, but they didn't want to, they wanted to be on the agenda, didn't come to the meeting.
Fair
I don't
point.
think it's just
I think we should
this
move
address.
on.
I think it's not this,
I mean, that's fair.
I think it's fair about this situation, but I don't think the situation's gonna go away.
Well, I would say we approach it, we had more cases.
Yeah.
Right now, this
Okay.
is the only case we've had, and we said they didn't come, but we should
Yeah.
just move on.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
do
we need
Do
direction.
we want this ordinance enforced?
Yep, it's an ordinance, we have to enforce our ordinance.
If
Yeah.
you enforce what's on the,
Okay.
Thank you.
guess who I'll be calling tomorrow?
Temporary liquor license for Hastings. Mike, do you have anything on this?
Let me see if my mouse is gonna work. Second here. Okay, the Chamber of Commerce has applied for a 4-day temporary on-sale liquor license, for the beer tent for the Hay Day celebration. Sarah, thank you, has worked quite a bit with the state on this. She's also worked with the Chamber on this, getting all this paperwork and insurance together for the state. The state would like us, in our motion to approve this tonight, the state would like us to approve the temporary intoxicating liquor license for the Chamber under the tent.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will abstain because I'm on the Hastings committee.
I do have a question on this. It always gets to be a problem that, it's closing the road with us and county both. They need to give notice and request for that.
And the county approved it.
Did they?
Yep. Yeah,
We
good.
always approve it too, don't we?
We always did when it was Second Street,
Okay,
but Main Street being a county road, the county,
okay.
yep.
Make sure that's one step that got missed for a lot of years, and we just make sure it didn't get missed.
Mm-hmm,
Second Street will remain open this
Yep.
year. It will be part of the freight route.
yes.
All right. All in favor?
Yeah, we did.
Disc golf.
Um,
Jim might have some.
Yeah, I was approached by some people earlier in the year, and I came up with the idea that we've got that spot west of the Deer, west of that road that goes through the park, up on top of the hill, and it's a perfect setup for a disc golf course. We can't put 18 in there, but it really sets nicely for a 9-hole disc golf course. There's trees, there's shrubbery around the edge, there's shade, it's this little contour to it. So I was hoping that the council might authorize a committee to investigate the cost, the structure, the design, and come back with a proposal to use that park for a disc golf course, owned and maintained by the city. That's my thought. And I've researched it a little bit. The high-end 40-chain stainless steel 3-row basket is $400 to $500. Each,
Per basket,
yes.
yep.
The ground sleeves with the one that I looked on Amazon, the ground sleeve that goes embedded in the cement that you stabilize the basket to, comes with those. The other things that we would need would be launch markers, sign marking and designating each hole, some flags to designate where they are, and maps for the course. I think that we could be in and out of this, if the baskets cost, let's say $500 to buy and install, that's $45. Maybe the flags and signs will cost another $1,000. I think for $7,000 to $8,000 tops, we could be in this and have a very nice recreational activity out there. So, that's my spiel, and now the council can decide.
I have a question, because I know absolutely nothing about disc golf.
I don't know much.
Is this something you charge to do, or is?
We would not.
Okay.
We would not. This would be a free facility in our park for people to come in and use. That's my theory, is no charge. That way you don't have to have personnel there. We've already got people on staff that are mowing it. It takes up very little space to mow around, so.
Do you have any
Popular
comment on it,
nature.
Dave, with extra people out there or anything, or?
I don't think so. It's just kind of an enhancement for all the playground equipment, things that are already out there.
Right.
And we've got that small parking facility by the Deer. My proposal would be to start the first tee right by where that old house was, where we took that house out, run it along the road, cross over for number 2, and end up there again for number 9, so that all of that parking up by the playground and that strip of road could be parking for players. We'd have to possibly at some point in time widen that if it's popular. I think we would be surprised at how popular it really becomes. Anyway, I thought through it a little bit.
Well, yeah, we got an architect in the committee, we got it all in one right here. So you're looking to have a committee?
Form
for
a
this,
committee,
or?
yes.
Okay.
A search committee, ask community members that are interested or involved that if they would step forward and help create.
Are you interested in having the committee?
I would.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the old JC thing. If you're not willing to chair it, don't bring it up, right?
I personally am in favor of anything that improves games in the least. If Jim wants to look into a committee, I'm 100% for it.
Same.
I make a motion that Jim can continue with that.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Go to work, Jim.
I will.
Speaking of that, as long as we're on your committees, I see people are planting their gardens.
Garden, we've got 5 plots.
That's great.
One person took one, and they ended up taking 2 more as of Saturday. They were out there planting, and I stopped in, and they said, can we have more? And I said, absolutely. We've got 5 of them that are being planted at present. Hopefully we'll fill it up.
Great.
We'll see. If not, I'm still thinking that Joe Burke and I'll plant mini pumpkins out there and then have the grade school kids go down there and pick them in the fall.
Do you play disc golf with pumpkins?
Excuse me?
With disc golf?
With your mini
Oh,
pumpkin.
boy, I hope not.
Shot put.
The 22 budget schedule.
Yeah, so, for the newer council members here, the last couple of years, we basically broke down our general fund budget kind of by department at council meetings, so we gradually looked at the whole budget throughout the summer months. For many years, we really didn't do it that way. We have been the last few years. I guess I seem to think that worked out pretty
A
well.
lot easier digesting it in little pieces than it is all at once.
So tonight, I suggest that beginning our July 12th city council meeting, we will be, we'll have a little schedule here for the council to start looking at the draft budgets before we adopt any preliminary levy in September. If everybody's okay with that, I'm just gonna roll with it, if you're okay. Keep in mind, we're not gonna talk all night. Some of these departments are rather small, you know, they don't take too much discussion. But we're just gonna kind of break things down that way, if you're okay with that.
Do you want action on this, or just?
It's worked
I'm
pretty
just
well in
pretty,
the past.
yeah,
of
I'm just telling you what I plan on doing.
Perfect.
Getting the whole budget done over 2 months versus
Yeah, right.
one session and trying to pound it all out at once. It's a lot of numbers to look at.
It's really nice. I like it a lot.
Okay.
Rotary Club contribution.
Yes, the Rotary Club has voted and approved to donate $2,500 to the city. We'd like to use it for the cost of the deck at the clubhouse. So, at your table tonight, there's a resolution in front of you that identifies that we have budgeted for the deck improvements. The Rotary is donating $2,500 to the city, and that the city council, by passing this resolution, you will put that donation towards the construction of the deck at the clubhouse. Also gonna point out that we put $30,000 in the budget from last year and this year to build the deck, and we've spent like $31,400 right now, or $32,000, something like that.
It's actually closer to 35 right now.
Is it now? Okay. So this contribution will help with that.
Fantastic.
So I'd look for
Make a motion to
approval.
accept the resolution.
Yes.
Accept the donation, resolution 2111.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for the Rotary.
Yeah, thank you.
You're on it. You have any other motions?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, second. All in favor?
Aye.
7:37.
Yay.
Good.